The looming global climate talks have been described as the world's last chance to avert major climate destruction. Ahead of that summit, the United Nations has warned the plans countries have so far unveiled to slash emissions fall short, far short of what's necessary. But there is still hope that could be turned around in Glasgow. So this top line shows the path the world is currently on. Existing pledges from more than 100 countries will only reduce emissions by around 7.5%. If that happens, the temperature will rise by around 2.7 degrees and trigger a major climate catastrophe. To avert that, the world needs to cut emissions by 55%. That's 7 times more than has currently been pledged, shown here by the second line. That would limit the world's heating to within 1.5 degrees, limiting the worst impacts of climate change.
Niceties, we are headed for terrible human suffering. But all countries need to realize that the old carbon-burning model of development is a death sentence for their economies and for our planet.
The report raised concerns that countries, which include Australia, are delaying significant cuts until after 2030, making it tough to deliver net zero just 20 years later. The Prime Minister has unveiled his plan to reach that 2050 target, but it's been criticised for being shy on details.
The Australian people are entitled, after yesterday, to hold their hands up and say, is that it? After weeks of melodrama, after weeks of chaos and dysfunction, after 8 years in office, we've got a slideshow and a sideshow. Now, that is not a climate policy.
The Energy Minister has defended the government's approach, arguing it will deliver through low emissions technologies and ultra-low-cost solar.
Lots of countries talk the talk. We walk the walk. We've delivered. We've delivered on Kyoto, consistently improved our position. We'll deliver on Paris. We'll meet and beat those targets. We've consistently improved our position.
A lot of the so-called plan relies on technologies that have not been invented yet or have certainly been shown not yet to work at scale. Some of the plan actually relies on policies from a previous government, and the modelling is not yet available. The government's had 8 years to come up with a plan, yet nothing in the plan indicates a serious move to transition away from the fossil fuels that got us into this problem in the first place.
Well, now all eyes are on the global summit in Glasgow, where nations will be asked to update their commitments. The United Nations is warning time is running out.
The clock is ticking. The emissions gap is the result of a leadership gap, but leaders can still make this a turning point to a greener future instead of a tipping point to climate catastrophe.